We got to cry out to the source of our breath. We cry out because the one that made hearing does hear. The one who formed the eye does see. We cry out to disturb and to interrupt the uneasy silence of those who are asleep in order to rouse them from their beds with the cry, awake, awake, put on strength, O Zion. We cry out to the source of our breath. Church, we, just like George Floyd, just like so many black people being abused and dehumanized on the streets of our cities, have lost our breath. And the collective prophetic voice of the church has seemingly caught laryngitis. We're in the middle of a civil rights movement that for the first time in the history of black America, the church is not at the forefront. The moral voice of black America is missing from the dialogue. The church has lost its breath and needs to be resuscitated. Is burning from the East Coast to the West Coast, that he would get up and try to unite people, try to bring people together, try to condemn the social injustice that brought us to this point. But no, he wants to thugify black folk. When white folk came to Michigan, armed to the teeth, carrying AR-15 rifles, dressed in combat gear, somebody carrying nooses and waving racist Confederate flags. He called them very good people and demanded that the governor of Michigan cut a deal with them and talk to them. But when black folk came to protest the unjust murder of black people, he called us thugs. Yeah, thugification, demonization, and criminalization are all attempts at ultimately dehumanizing us. Because if we can prove that someone is less than human, then we can justify killing them. I can get killed on the street for no reason, shot in the park for playing with a toy, choked to death just because, murdered for being black in a white neighborhood, shot in my car while rushing home to get medicine for my daughter, killed in the stairway for trying to catch an elevator, gunned down in Walmart for holding a toy, all for no price, for no ransom, for no reward, just because I've been labeled as less than human. Oh my God, I'm black, I'm other, I'm not like them. My music is too loud, so I should get killed. My hair is too kinky, so I should get killed. My hair's too nappy, too dreaded. My pants are too saggy. My shoes aren't tied. I'm wearing a hoodie. I walk too fast. I look intimidating. I'm a threat, a menace, a societal scourge, a community casualty, a neighborhood nuisance. I can't win. I can't get a job. I can't get a raise. I can't get a promotion. I can't find no respect. I can't get the benefit of the doubt. I can't make ends meet. I can't breathe. What do I do when I can't breathe?
There's an important election coming up. Rep, how important is this election?
Freedom of speech, freedom of the right to assemble, the right to bear arms. None of that takes place until you have the right to vote.
Yeah, why I got a chance to be next up?
Yeah.
We gotta do it together. We can't do this alone.
My vote
will dictate the quality of my life, not only my life, but for future generations to come.
Why the system I live in oppress us?
It's a severity in our community when people don't do what is necessary to make sure that our voices are heard.
We've got 150,000 residents, 100,000 registered voters, but unfortunately we have not been coming out.
And that means you should be willing to get up and go out and vote.
Philip White, won't you say his name? Say his name. 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 Say his name.
90.7 WTCC. Good morning. Welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And as usual, I'll be telling like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African-American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness and create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. I want to welcome you all here to another edition. Today, I'm going to be dealing with several things. I'll be dealing with this resistance of coronavirus safety precautions. It seems like since Trump got corona, his followers are more determined than ever not to wear masks, not to follow the protocols, all that stuff. It's crazy. And then we'll deal with how in the world is affirming Black Lives Matter anti-police? Somebody's going to have to help me understand that notion right there, because I just haven't figured out yet how us saying that Black Lives Matter is offensive to the police and police supporters. How? Y'all just, somebody got to help me understand that. And then if we have time, we'll deal with who's really doing voter fraud. Yeah. Trump and his ilk keep talking about voter fraud, people trying to cheat them out of an election. But it seems to me, with all their suppression efforts and stuff, they're trying to keep Black folk from voting. Very interesting. I want to remind you today that we're celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Million Man March. I remember well going there with my brothers and my cousins so long ago, and 25 years has shot by, and there will be a commemoration at the Mason Square Veterans Island right there on State Street in Springfield at 5 p.m. today. I want to invite the entire community to come out and commemorate this milestone in Black history in America. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. 413-337-1867.
We'll be right back.
Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy. A positive attitude says everything about you. Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Every day you get up, you've been given a gift. That's why they call it the present. And it's up to you of how you unwrap it. So yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, today is a gift. So don't let the pain of your past bleed into your present and poison your future. Stop replaying the movie, why did this happen to me? When it's done with you, be done with it. If it seems like you keep running into pigeons, it's an indication that you're flying too low. So set your sights a little higher. Remember, eagles fly lives themselves. If you can see the invisible, you can do the impossible. Allow your challenges to be a stepping stone to propel you into new possibilities. So be discontent with your past accomplishment. You're only as great as your last success. So maintain your hunger and your passion. Remember this, within every seed there is a tree. In every tree there is a forest. Who and what you were born into is simply the environment to prepare you for your ultimate purpose. It was not a setback, it was a setup. Your purpose and potential is bigger than your past pain or problem.
Another talk that gave to you. Listen to your heart, don't let your mind fool you. Remember the talk that gave to you. Whatever you do is gonna surely come back to you.
Successful people will do the things they hate to get the things they love. Much of life is about sacrifice. You gotta give up something to get something. Success is not about what you've accomplished, but it's what you have overcome. For it's the test that you pass in life which qualifies you for the next level. You have to be willing to face your challenges and overcome them. Most people drive 12,000 miles a year moving forward, but most accidents are caused when they move backwards. You gotta stay focused on what's ahead of you instead of what's behind you. It's your daily routine that determines your success or failure. Whatever you practice at is what you become great at. What's more important than being intelligent is having the right attitude. Respect costs you nothing, but it will cost you everything not to have it. So don't be too smart for your own good. Remember, a hard head makes a soft behind. What's more important than your five senses is common sense. The heart of a fool is in his mouth, but the heart of a wise man is in his character. So don't sweat the small things. The answer for a short temper is a long walk. Be slow to speak, quick to listen, and remember this: you haven't lived long enough to know everything. Your character is what matters most. Once you have been labeled with a bad reputation, it's hard for people to see you any other way. A good name is worth more than all the money in the world. Your life is broken up into three parts. First you learn, then you earn, and then you return. You gotta give back.
Talk to me, talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy. I need to know how to be a man. So many things I don't understand. Talk to me, Daddy.
90.7 WTCC. Once again, I want to remind everybody out there of the commemoration of the Million Man March that will take place at 5 o'clock p.m. Um, today. And so going out there to Mason Square and participate. I remember the march those many years ago, and there was a lot of controversy around it. And there were people who were saying, well, Bishop, should you be going out there as a Christian pastor to a march that has been called by a Muslim minister? Uh, and what I saw was a man who was concerned about the issues of Black people. And the bottom line is, we came out there by the millions of every different religion, background, city, town, everything, because we were concerned about our community. And it was an empowering time that sparked some change throughout America. I remember when we formulated the Million Man March Committee here in Springfield shortly thereafter, and all of the positive things that resulted because of it. And so I want to encourage you to join my brother Johnny Muhammad, and all of those who will be going to commemorate that landmark event 25 years ago on the mall in Washington, D.C., and celebrating with the brothers and sisters here in Springfield, Massachusetts. 413-337-1867. I'm trying to work through some technical difficulties on the streaming side. So bear with me. It happens every now and then. There we go. 413-337-1867 is the number. Coming up at 9:45, First Lady is coming up, and we're going to be talking about election stuff. A lot of stuff happened over this weekend around the election. The women in the NAACP led a caravan down to City Hall when early voting started on Saturday. And so they got the ball rolling with folks, early voting. We followed up at the Spring of Hope Church. We took souls to the polls yesterday, and I encourage all of you, early voting has started. So you can go now. You do not have to wait until November 3rd. Y'all can go now. Get going. Get gone. Go on down to City Hall and cast your ballot. It's important, y'all. It's really, really important. You cast your vote. Get down to the polls. Make it happen. They're trying to suppress votes all over this nation. And it's sad and it's reprehensible. It's I think I talked about this last week in Texas. A 3-judge panel upheld an edict by Governor Abbott to only have one drop-off box for absentee ballots per county. Texas, y'all. Harris County in Texas has 4.7 million people. One drop-off box in the county. Listen, if you don't think your vote counts, think about why they're trying to keep you from casting it. Why are they trying to suppress it? If your vote didn't count, they would not be trying to suppress your vote. That's just the bottom line. And you all need to realize that. They would definitely just, hey, your votes aren't going to matter. Let them go on and vote. We're going to win the election. They know that your vote counts. That's why they're bending over backwards to try to keep you from voting. Y'all need to understand this. Get out there, vote, mail in, do what you need to do, brothers and sisters. Let our voices be heard. And there's all kinds of other elections. It's not just the presidential election. We've got state elections, state reps and state senators and auditors and treasurers and district attorneys and registers of deeds. And there's all kinds of elections going on that affects your quality of life every day. And so you need to get out there. You need to vote. Okay? All right. 413-337-1867. Now, since the orange one had coronavirus and went to Walter Reed Hospital and played his Superman act, look at me, I got over corona, I'm Superman. Don't let it get you down. Don't be afraid of it. We can beat it. I beat it. Look at me. Well, everybody doesn't have access to the best hospital in the nation. Everybody doesn't have a helicopter in the backyard to airlift you to the hospital under Secret Service guard. Everybody doesn't have access to the treatments that you receive. One of the treatments Trump received, he was only like the 9th person in the world to ever have received it. Everybody doesn't have that. Round the clock, multiple doctors, best treatments in the world. I mean, this is how arrogant this guy is. Oh, you can beat it. I beat it. You can beat it. And what about the people who don't have health care? What about people who have limits on their health care? I mean, he doesn't get it. And the message that he sent that went out far and wide was, don't worry about this thing. It ain't no big deal. And his crazy followers are like, yeah, the president had it. He got over it. It ain't no big deal. And they are worse after. Okay? They are worse after his coronavirus diagnosis than they were before. I mean, you think they were bad with the anti-mask, all going out to state capitals acting like fools? Man, they are 10 times worse now than they were before. It is pathetic. So there's this black man in Georgia, Vernon Jones. He's a state rep. Used to be the commissioner of DeKalb County. Democrat, decided he was going to support Trump, got into trouble. He didn't get reelected. He'll be out of office at the end of the year. But he's trying to prove to massa he's down with MAGA. And so this dude was at the Trump rally in Georgia, crowd surfing, without a mask on, folks without masks on, yelling, screaming, spitting in his face, and taking his life into his own hand. And even after Chris Christie came out and said, I made a mistake, I should have wore a mask, this guy is bragging about being a jerk. And he's literally boasting about it. I mean, the dude is posted the picture on his Instagram and said, MAGA baby. Yeah, this is brother. This is, yeah. buck dancing, Uncle Tom, and I hate to use Uncle Tom because Uncle Tom was actually a good dude. He gets a bad rap. All that stuff. And what makes it bad, I debated this guy on the Absolutely Al show back in August. And when I debated this dude back in August, he ran off the show like a punk. I mean, first question in. So Al asked the question, what do we grade Trump on his coronavirus response? Vernon Jones said he gave him a B and basically said the president has done a good job and he's got a bad rap and, you know, it's difficult situations and you guys are all out there protesting without masks and stuff on and you got the nerve to talk and blah, 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 blah. I ran the list on how irresponsible he's been, calling it a hoax, mocking people who wear masks, mocking the science, telling folk to inject disinfectant, put UV light under their body. Oh, it's just like the flu. Oh, it's going to disappear. All the crazy stuff that he's done, holding rallies. And I noted that the month before our debate in July, that he had a rally in Tulsa that was attended by Herman Cain. And that subsequent to Herman Cain going to Trump's rally, he was diagnosed with COVID-19. More than likely caught it at the rally, and he died. He got offended that I connected Herman Cain's death to attending the Trump rally without a mask, without social distancing or anything. And we were doing it via Zoom, so he disconnected and got off the show, ran off the show like a little punk. So after running off the show like a punk, debating about the president's sad response to coronavirus and holding rallies and stuff, this buck dancing clown goes to a Trump rally. No mask, no social distancing, and is crowd surfing like he's a doggone teenager or a college co-ed. 50-something-year-old black dude. I mean, even if there wasn't no corona, you ain't had no business out there looking stupid like that. And now he's posting it all over the internet, boasting about it. And listen, we tried to be empathetic and compassionate when Herman Cain died and talked about how unfortunate it was that he took this anti-mask position and it cost him his life. Well, obviously, clowns like Vernon Jones haven't learned anything from Herman Cain's death. So, you know, if we get the news that Vernon Jones has COVID and is in the hospital or something, don't expect people to be empathetic when he's just playing with death. Daring corona. It's like, I dare you, corona, to come mess with me. You know, the old mothers in church used to tell us when we were kids, if you play with fire, you get burned. You know, they took that scripture, can a man take fire into his bosom and not be burned? That's what Vernon Jones is doing. Putting fire in his bosom and saying, I dare you to burn me, corona. Oh, boy. I mean, it is crazy. He didn't wear a mask, ignoring CDC guidelines, which advise only small gatherings. And even with those social distances, he's out there with thousands of people. And he's got backlash for the stunt. And all he's done is double down on it. COVID-19 has killed 220,000 Americans and sickened 8 million more. Okay. Trump was hospitalized. And it could have been much worse if he didn't have the type of care that he got. But Vernon Jones remains defiant, boasting, bragging about the Trump train is about to steamroll over the Democrats. This ain't got you not wearing a mask, crowd surfing like a buffoon. Ain't got nothing to do with the election, dummy. It's got to do with your life. It's got to do with the lives of those around you who you put at risk. Even if you were to contract it and be asymptomatic, you can put others at risk, idiot. Oh, boy. I just don't get it. Don't get it. Wear a mask, people. Wear a mask. If you don't care about yourself, care about those around you. Care about your mama and them, aunties and them, your next door neighbors, your children. Care about somebody other than yourself. You know, is that too much to ask? 413-337-1867. Listen to my Facebookers. We're building our page back up. You can find me again at Talbert Swan, public page. And I need to get my top fans back and all of you. So follow me. Go there now. Follow that public page. It'll be re-verified soon. I need you to follow it. And so unfortunate thing is we had over 55,000 followers when they unpublished that page. And the ideal thing would have been for them to republish it. But, you know, we're not going to deal with that. We're going to deal with what we got. So go on and follow again. And matter of fact, I know some of you are watching us via the Greater Springfield NAACP, but we are actually also streaming to the Talbert Swan page as well. So you definitely follow me there. Once again, 413-337-1867 is the number here. If you want to chime in on the conversation. Listen, I want to ask a question. Maybe somebody can help me understand. How is Black Lives Matter controversial? How is it anti-police? How does me saying my life matters? How is that against the police? Somebody help me, because I'm not getting it. I mean, if somebody said Irish lives matter, nobody would say that's anti-police. You know, if somebody said Greek lives matter, nobody would say that's anti-police. I'm just trying to figure out and understand what is so controversial about Black Lives Mattering. And if somebody has the answer to that, please let me know. Let me know. 413-337-1867. Because I'm confused about it. Always been confused about that. Why, whenever Black folk do something or say something that empowers or affirms themselves, that somehow that's supposed to be controversial. I don't get it. I really don't. And here's what's happening. Literally, all over the nation, police are cutting ties with domestic violence programs, youth serving programs, other programs they've had affiliations and collaborations with, simply because those programs and organizations support Black Lives Matter. Think about that for a moment. This is a phenomenon that's going on across the nation. Law enforcement groups in multiple states have put pressure on domestic violence organizations, youth serving organizations, nonprofits for standing against racism, for affirming that Black Lives Matter. Just this past summer, an organization called Embrace, which is a domestic violence organization in northwestern Wisconsin, they decided to hang a Black Lives Matter sign at its 4 locations. Small but meaningful sign, trying to show themselves as allies amid a national reckoning on police violence and systemic racism. Now, they serve survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. And get this, in 4 predominantly white counties in Wisconsin. White counties. But decided they would stand in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. And they got all kinds of backlash. I mean, it's been crazy. It was 8 days after they made a statement that was posted online supporting Black Lives Matter. Check out what happened. 8 days after. Barron County voted to strip the organization of $25,000 in funding. Wait, back up. Let me say that again. 8 days after, they made a public statement declaring that we are allies with and we support Black Lives Matter. Barron County said, oh, hell no. Let's take their money away. And voted to strip them of $25,000 in funding. Right? The county's director of Health and Human Services resigned from their board of directors. Oh, hell no. If you're going to say Black Lives Matter, I can't be on the board anymore. These are the responses that white folk are giving to simply saying Black Lives Matter. Since that time, a majority of the 17 law enforcement agencies that work with Embrace have indicated that they will no longer partner with this organization. This is a domestic violence organization. Okay? Law enforcement. we're not going to associate with you anymore, and we're not going to refer to people to you anymore. All because they said Black Lives Matter. How racist do you have to be to decide that you're going to take money from an organization, can no longer partner with an organization, can no longer be affiliated with an organization because they affirm the worth, the dignity, and the value of Black lives? Help me understand it. Make it make sense. Because it's not making any sense to me. Maybe it makes sense to y'all, but it's not making any sense to me. Here in my city, spearheaded by City Councilor Tracy Whitfield, the Black Lives Matter mural was painted in front of City Hall. In the roughly a little over a month or so since it was painted, it's been defaced and vandalized 3 times. A second mural was painted on the side of a building on Worthington Street by various artists who painted various letters. On one of the letter T's, it depicts, if you've ever seen the Blue Lives Matter flag, it's a flag that has a thin blue line that separates the stars and stripes from the other part of the flag. And the symbolism is supposed to be the only thing that stands between the unity of America and chaos is the thin blue line, is the police. That's the symbolism of it. Of course, the Blue Lives Matter flag has roots in white supremacy as well, but I don't have time to go over that. I've talked about that on this program. Don't have time to deal with it today. But on this letter T, it kind of mimicked the Blue Lives Matter flag. It had the thin blue line. Instead of stars, it had skulls. It also was outlined to show blood dripping. I get the symbolism. I haven't heard from the artist, but my own interpretation. Skulls likely represent death and the lives of Black people that have been taken extrajudiciously at the hands of law enforcement. Okay? The blood dripping is obvious. The blood that we keep shedding on the streets of America at the hands of law enforcement. And I can run the names if necessary, but I don't need to. You know them. The George Floyds, the Breonna Taylors, and so many others who have been unjustly murdered. And so I think it's an accurate depiction of what Black folks are going through in America and what Black Lives Matter really symbolizes anyway. Our resistance against this extrajudicial murder of Black people. But all of a sudden, this mural is being touted as controversial, anti-police. I still just don't get it. I still don't get how Black people telling their story, Black people sharing their experience, sharing their angst, their anger, their righteous indignation about the state of affairs in America. How is that controversial? How is that anti-police? Make it make sense. Make it make sense, because it don't make no sense to me at all. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Bishop. I just think a lot of white folks are threatened. The white establishment is basically threatened by Black Lives Matter because a lot of white folks have jumped on the bandwagon and they can't stand it. And make America great again really means you're supposed to sit back, shut up, sit down, and suck it up and take it. So we ain't supposed to say nothing. So whenever we organize anything, it's an issue. And I have a comment about the governor in Michigan, with all those people who were elected. For, now, you and I both know if it was a bunch of black folks who threatened the governor like that, they probably wouldn't have made it to jail. They would have ended up dead.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed.
So that's the problem, right?
But those folks who are the suspects in that case, they represent domestic terrorism in America anyway. As much as people try to deny it, even Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI, said the face of domestic terrorism in America is white male supremacists, and that's part of why they've promulgated this narrative of Black Lives Matter being a Marxist organization, a terrorist organization. Look at them looting, look at them burning, even though we know we've got antagonists and provocateurs out there that are trying to take advantage of our protests so that they can undergird that narrative. But we know realistically it's Hezbollah, it's Al Qaeda, it's the Taliban, and all them, vanilla ISIS. They are the terrorists here in America.
Well, you got a lot of groups in America who are white supremacist groups, and they have guns, they have bombs, they have tanks, they have everything, and nobody messes with them. But the group in Philadelphia years ago called Move. They were killed, burnt. They had bombs dropped on them. Yeah. They were burnt up. They weren't threatening anybody. They had no tanks.
I remember that well. And the sad reality of that was it was a black mayor who authorized the bombing of Move. Yeah.
Well, you have a great day and have a great week.
All right, you too. Take care. All right, let me see.
I'll get straight to the point. I found marijuana in the house.
Wake up.
I'm not asleep.
Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. You just got up. Go act like you wasn't asleep. You just got up. You were still in the bed when I came down here to start the show.
I was.
So you just got up.
What's your point? No, I didn't.
That is my point.
In case you don't know, it's been almost 50 minutes since you've been, it's been over an hour since you've been downstairs.
Anyway, you just got up.
Anyway, you're always trying to find something to say.
Anyway, put your camera down some. Cutting your head off. Down and put your camera down some. There you go. That's better. All right. Tell folk what happened this weekend.
It was a whole lot that happened this weekend.
Well, I mean, we're still on. We're 13 minutes on WTCC. So take about 5 minutes to talk about what happened this weekend, and then we'll talk about going forward before we get off the air on TCC.
Okay, well, I'll try to wrap it up as quick as possible. But this weekend we scheduled 2 events. We scheduled the Drive for the Win caravan, and we also scheduled the first Vote and Tote event on Sunday. We ran into some problems on Saturday. We were scheduled to meet at 9 a.m. at the Eastville Mall empty. abandoned parking lot that's been abandoned and empty for a number of years. Um, and we were kicked off of the premises by the security guard. Security guard sent word that the owners of the Eastville Mall lot did not want us there. We found out later on that there was some lies being told on me because I did give a courtesy call saying that we were going to be using the lot on a Saturday morning for about 45 minutes to an hour just to gather cars and to organize the cars that will be participating in the caravan. But nevertheless, um, I did give word, to the ladies that I had ran into a little bit of some you're distracting me.
Voila.
But you're distracting me.
Yeah, I'm distracted. I was doing it. Voila. Look at that.
Okay. All right. But anyway, so long story short, he started Dave Thompson, the general manager of Eastville Mall, sent word that I called and I asked if I could host a political event on the premises of Eastville Mall, and that is a out and out lie. I didn't say anything about a political event. I did tell him that we were gathering to create and organize a caravan so that we could go and participate in the first day, in the first couple of hours of early voting here in Massachusetts. I don't want to, give him too much of my time, but I do want to say that in that conversation, when I called to give him a heads up that we would be on the property and I didn't know how many cars, would be participating, but maybe at minimum, 20 cars or so or whatever. He immediately got a little defensive and opposing. And he did say to me, well, I would rather not. And I said, you would rather not what? I would rather not support you guys in going to vote. And I found that to be offensive. And I said to him, sir, I'm not calling you to get your permission for us to gather and vote. I was calling you to tell you that we would be on the property so nobody would, get concerned. Because to be quite honest with you, we use that abandoned lot often, all the time. I take my son up there to teach him how to drive, or whatever, and we're never bothered. It was people that was with us on Saturday morning said, what? Why they kicking y'all off kicking us off the lot? We was just here last weekend. It was way more cars than this that was here. We did a gender reveal. We've done other things. We've gathered, on this lot, on these premises many a times, and nobody ever sent anybody, a security guard or security over to kick us out the lot. And I know that to be true because I've been on the lot, many a times. I've met other groups and people, on the lot because it's empty. I mean, and it's a good space to meet on the main drag of Springfield. But nevertheless, we was kicked out the lot. He didn't stop anything. It did cause some confusion for some people who were on their way that couldn't find us. We went across the street to another empty lot. We were not kicked off of that lot. But nevertheless, the Buffalo Soldiers, Mr. Richard, led us off, and we drove down Boston Road. We drove down State Street, and we went to City Hall. Some of us voted on Saturday, the first day of early voting. Some of us went on yesterday to vote. Some of us are waiting until we get more information about the ballot questions, which we're having also a ballot question form and another candidate's form for state representative of the 7th Hampden district and also the register of probate. the candidates will be with us on the forum on this Wednesday. Is it Wednesday or Thursday? I, okay, I got to get the information back because I think it's been rescheduled for Thursday.
Okay, so babe, let's turn
Mhm.
to, because we got 7 minutes left on TCC. So let's turn the next steps in terms of action steps we want
Well, I
our
didn't get to
listening
tell you
audience
about
to
the
take.
vote until I didn't get to tell you about vote until.
Okay.
Okay. So yesterday we did our first vote in tote. There were some people that came, they went and they voted and they came and they got their free dinners. But nevertheless, you know, it was a another successful event created and held by the Greater Springfield Women in the NAACP. Um, and you know, I just want to shout out. I want to shout out all the people that were not only physically there, but you know, brought that good energy on Saturday and Sunday on yesterday. Listen, we're trying to encourage our family and friends everywhere, not just here in Springfield, but everywhere to get out and vote. We're fighting for our vote like never before. And if that's not a good enough reason, it ought to be letting you know just how powerful your vote is, because they would not be fighting you so hard, or you would not be having to come up against so much opposition if your vote didn't count, if your vote didn't matter. And so it's just really important. It's just really important. And Springfield, listen, Springfield, this is just the beginning. So, you know, I've been saying this also, Bishop, that that regardless of what the presidential turnout is on November 3rd, we still got work to do. Regardless of whatever, you know, happens on November 3rd, we got work to do far and beyond, you know, and be above no the November 3rd turnout. So next step.
Yeah, what's up next? Because we've got to push the polls. I know in our denomination, and I know all over everybody is making last minute pushes. We're at the 19th today, and that gives us. Let me see exactly. Wow, we are literally just a little over 2 weeks.
Right.
Tomorrow, the election is 2 weeks from tomorrow. We're 15 days away.
Yeah, well, I
From
think next
this
steps
election.
are this. I think that this is important, not just in Springfield, but everywhere across the country. I think it's important that we get to the polls during the early stages, during the early voting stages. I personally don't want to see anybody waiting until November 3rd to try to vote. If they're
If you're
doing all of
mailing
this
in
in
stuff,
early voting, it's gonna
get
be
it
way
now.
chaos on November 3rd. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if
Get
you're
it in
mailing in
now.
stuff, mail it
Make
today. Mail,
arrangements now. Yeah,
yeah, because
make arrangements now. Make
you need to.
arrangements now. We would prefer people to drop their ballots off in the ballot box. If you don't know how to fill out your ballot, you know, or whatever, make sure you get that information first. If you don't have a good understanding of who to vote for, get that information first, because a empowered voter is an informed voter. So you need to be empowered, you know, with the right information. So get that information first. But whatever you do, don't wait till the last minute. Get out and vote now during the early stages of voting.
Absolutely. So listen, those who are listening on WTCC, this is the time. Early voting is open. Get to the polls, cast your ballot. If you got to mail it in today. Tomorrow, you only got 2 weeks. It needs to be postmarked by November 3rd, but we know what's happening with the mail service. So do what you need to do to get it in. And if there is a way to get it to the ballot box, get it down there. Listen, this is critical.
Yeah.
15 days away. This is critical. Also, want to remind you all in the greater Springfield area, 5 p.m. today at the Veterans Island on State Street. commemoration of the 25th anniversary of the Million Man March is going to be taking place. I won't be able to be there. I'll be traveling for the first time since February, since this all started. Otherwise, I was slated to be a speaker at the event that was originally scheduled for Friday, but because of the rain, it had to be postponed until today. And so I want you all to go out there. It was a memorable time, a part of American history. Listen, I got to get out the way. Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember God loves you, and so do I. If you're looking for a place to worship, check us out at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ, 35 Alden Street, Springfield, Mass, every Sunday morning at 11 o'clock a.m. WTCC, we'll see you later. Streaming audience, we'll be with you for a little while longer. Don't touch that dial. Hang on for a little bit.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
All right. To my streamers, we're back at you for a little while longer. But we were saying how important it is on this 15-day stretch. You're going to hear all kinds of misinformation that's out there. One of the things I was going to deal with today was this whole notion that the right has been pushing. I hate to call them the right because they're really the wrong. But they've been pushing about alleged voter fraud. And I want to ask the question, who is really doing the voter fraud? It was recently highlighted that the California Republican Party had to be told to remove its unofficial vote by mail collection boxes that they had set up across the state. They tried to defend their use of these makeshift ballot boxes that were falsely labeled as official. And the authorities had to issue a cease and desist order. The Attorney General and the Secretary of State had to tell Republicans, the ones who are accusing everybody else of voter fraud, had to tell them to knock it off after it got reported that the party had been breaking the law by placing these makeshift, unauthorized ballot drop-off boxes around the state, falsely labeling them as official, and people were actually dropping their ballots off in them. What was happening to those ballots once they were dropped off in there? And then they have the nerve to talk about voter fraud. So not only are they engaging in voter suppression, they're engaging in voter fraud. Any kind of way to cheat you out of your vote that they can think of, they're out there doing it right now. They're sending robocalls out, giving people false information, giving people the wrong date of the election, giving them the wrong locations of drop-off boxes, all kinds of stuff. They're bending over backwards to make sure your vote doesn't get in, which is why we have to be defiant. We have to be resilient, and we got to do everything that we can do to make sure that we vote. Our cousins and them vote. I keep telling y'all, hashtag collect your cousins, your children, everybody who is eligible to vote needs to be out there voting.
Yeah. We was talking about this on Saturday morning when we were getting together for the caravan. And, and I certainly brought up the fact that we don't have the same struggle up here in Massachusetts, but a lot of our families and friends, especially down south in the southern region, in big electoral colleges states, or those swing states, they are having some big time problems. But it is concerning to me that some of these tricks of suppression and some of these tricks of fraud is working on. I mean, it's on a small minority of people, but we need all hands on deck. We need all feet, on the road. We need, we need hands on the steering wheels. We need everybody. We
But when
need
you
all
think about
eyes.
even it being a small minority, it's enough. When you think about some of the major swing states that Trump won in 16 and the margin, I'm literally talking about 0.5, 0.05, half of a percentage point that he won places like Michigan by 11,000 votes, very minuscule amount. And there were literally 200 and something thousand blacks just in Detroit who didn't vote. How many of them were duped out of voting by false pretenses and means that could have turned the tide of that election? So, however,
That's why we want to encourage black and brown people. Listen, if we ever needed to be unified, if we ever needed to be on one accord, it's now. And listen, this is beyond politics. We're talking about our livelihood and we're talking about our quality of lives. But then you know what? It's even beyond that because we're not just talking about our lives and our livelihood. We're talking about generations to come. We got a grandbaby on the way. We're talking about her, and her livelihood. Look at what's happening right now with the Supreme Court. There's going to be very little changes we're going to be able to bring to that, So, yeah, we need all hands on deck. We need to be united. We need to have a united front. Some people, like the Candace Owens of the world, maybe we need to just let them go, and stop trying to convert them and convince them. But the people that's kind of on the line, that might have fallen for the tricks or the lies, those people need to just come on over and trust that the 97% of black women that's been doing this for decades, that's been saving humanity, that's been saving the democracy for decades, maybe even centuries, even before we had the right to vote, we still established the moral compass. We just need for everybody to just come on over and trust the strategy, trust the thermometer that black women, that powerful women, informed women, black and brown women have.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the season to talk your people off the fence. All your people, man, I ain't going to vote. All the folk in your family, your cousins and them, your friends, your fellow church members, all of those who are talking about they're not going to vote and the reasons that they're not going to vote and all of that. This is the time to talk them off the fence. These 2 weeks, these 15 days, now that you've gone and you early voted, your focus should be making sure that everybody else around you has voted or is on their way to vote.
And also, people need to learn the lessons of the past. Warning comes before destruction. That's what we believe. That's what, scripture denotes, that warning comes before destruction. Well, not only have we been warned, we've seen evidence of our refusal to participate or our refusal to get involved. So the fact of the matter is, even with Russia influence, even with voter suppression, even with the debunking of the voting rights bill, even with all of that, we still did not have to have a Donald Trump ever elected into office if more of us had gotten involved and if more of us had united in the way in the direction that we voted in 2016. That's just a fact. That is a fact.
Absolutely. Well, they say that if you don't learn the lessons of the past, you're bound to repeat it. And that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So for those of you who are sitting in the barbershops and the beauty shops complaining all the time about who ain't doing what, then maybe you should get up and do something. Maybe it's the time for you to put your wheels in motion to do something. I hear it all the time. Sometimes I'm the brunt of those conversations. Oh, what Bishop Swan doing? What this one doing? What the preacher's doing? What that one doing? What are you doing? That's the question. What are you doing? You know, it's your life. How are you taking ownership of making your life better and making the life of those around you that are better? Part of the reason why, you know, we've been doing what we've been doing is plain and simple. The reason why, you know, women in the NAACP did the caravan, the reason why we did the souls to the polls and all of those things that we've been doing is quite simple. We're trying to empower our own communities. We're trying to take matters into our own hands. We're building political power for our community to achieve equity and justice. The bottom line is this, sisters and brothers: decisions that are made about school funding, housing, transportation, policing, job creation in your city. We're not even talking about the national election between Biden and Trump. In your city, they are made by the people who show up to vote. Okay, and those that they elect into office. That's why we want every member of your family, every member of every church and mosque and synagogue, everybody in your beauty shop and barber shop to go and vote, because we believe in the power of our own community to increase participation and representation for Black people. And we're determined to do that. And you ought to partner with us and also be determined to do that as well, and not just sit idly by, twiddling your thumbs and waiting to see what happens. Who was it? Was it Donnie Simpson? Somebody used to come on, and I know I'm aging myself by saying that, but they used to come on and they used to say there are three types of people: those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who sit around and wonder what happened. And there's too many of y'all in that third category who just sitting around and wondering what happened. When did that happen? When they make that decision? Because you're not part of either watching or making things happen.
I'm just wondering if it's anybody out there, that has made the decision. I didn't tell you about it, but it was somebody in our family that said that they was not going to be participating in voting. And it was kind of shocking, and it hurt some feelings, that this person said that they would not be voting in this election. So I'm just, and the reason why was because they felt like, it's not going to make a difference, that was their statement. And they're a young person, so they're millennial. And, and they said it's not going to make a difference. So I'm just refraining from voting. So we had a conversation with her, who's a female, Black female at that. again, a little surprising because most Black girls and women don't have that mindset. So I don't know if that's a rebellious, just rebelling, or what, but nevertheless, I wish somebody could really help me understand um that mentality, that mindset, especially with what they see going on.
Yeah, I don't understand it. And I mean, I do to an extent, and a lot of it has to do with um, how you were socialized, how you were raised. I mean, I do understand that my level of consciousness wasn't something that I just came up with by myself, but it was something that was instilled in me from, from my parents and my mom and I mean, it was just certain things that just was the order of the day. Listen, when you turn 18, you're either going to be going to school or working or get out my house. I mean, there's just certain things that just was the way it was. So it was like, let me see, do I want to work? Okay, I'll go to school, Mom. There's just certain things that, we had to do. And when you turn 18, like it or not, your butt is going and voting. There was no debate around it. There was no, I make up my mind for myself, all that kind of stuff. It was like, no, you're going to vote. You're going to register and you're going to vote. Bottom line. And we as parents, we've got to stop appropriating this culture, this let your children decide everything for themselves. Everything ain't right for everybody. There's certain places where we have to draw a line in the sand and say, okay, there's certain things I'm going to leave to my children to figure out for themselves. But there's certain places where this is the way it's going to go if you're going to be here, period. And I think this is one of those issues, when you think of the Medgars and the Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerners, and so many others who sacrificed their lives and shed blood, people who had their heads busted and got criminal records and had their lives permanently altered. When you think of 4 little girls being murdered in a 16th Street Baptist church in Birmingham, and just all of there's bloodshed on these ballots, y'all. And we disrespect the ancestors when we decide we're going to cavalierly, blow off, voting.
So somebody on Facebook, watching us on Facebook, they just brought up a really good point. They said that they had trouble finding the early voting schedule. And for some people who may not be savvy or on the, certainly online, often, such as our seniors tend not to be as, social media savvy, for instance, whatever. They might have trouble finding things like the early voting schedule. So that's true. That's a really good point too. So that's why it's also very important that we are passing along information in our families, individually, and also as groups in our churches and our social circles. I know we're not necessarily socializing like we normally would be if we wasn't under this pandemic restraints, but nevertheless, you can find like the voting rights schedule, certainly on the city hall page website, or whatever, and page, and you just have to go to the elections office. A lot of people don't know what to do though. That's true. So that's a good point. But the Greater Springfield NAACP, at least here, we have things like that on our site, and we're certainly promoting it and pushing it. We had copies at the Vote and Tote yesterday, and we had copies at the Caravan on Saturday. So, we're trying to do our part. A lot of the organizations like us, we're trying to do our part to inform and educate the community. That's part of our our job. That's part of the vision that we have as far as like empowering our community. So things like that, can be kind of hard to navigate through or to find. You don't know where to go, you don't know where to look. And then with these suppression tactics, they're complicating everything. And even people are a little intimidated about filling out the ballot because they're hearing that if the ballot is not filled out right, or if you forget to sign it, that they're going to throw it away. And I do know that they did some of that, in some states and stuff like that. And I heard that some stuff like that might have been done even here in Massachusetts. So, yeah. So I know people are intimidated. They might be confused. They might be getting conflicting information, but that's all part of the suppression. That's all part of discouraging you from voting. But trust me, it's enough of us out there that know what you need to do. Reach out to us. Let us inform you. Let us educate you on what you need to do, and let us even help you. We're willing to go and pick up ballots, Bishop. We're gonna get that part organized a little bit better, but we're willing to go pick up ballots for seniors and people that are disabled and don't have transportation, or whatever the case may be. And we're even willing. I believe Angela told me about a young lady that's willing to go and pick up people and bring them to the polls. So we're trying to do whatever we need to do to help bring people to the polls so that they can vote, so that they can participate. I also know that this election, even though you might be older, you might be a senior, but you never voted before, but you're revved up and you're ready to go and vote this year. Don't let that energy die down. Make whatever arrangements. Ask for help. Don't be too prideful. Ask for help. Contact us. Contact somebody in your community is involved or whatever. Get the help that you need so that your voice can be counted, so that your voice can be heard, so that your vote can also be counted as well.
All right. So listen, y'all. We've been hitting this home for weeks now, and we'll be hitting it home for the next 2 weeks. And of course, on November 2nd, we're gonna hit it, really, really hit it. This coming week, in the Kojic world, those of you who are familiar with Church of God in Christ, is our Press to the Polls week, and there will be virtual forums happening every evening this week at 8, 9 p.m., depending on your time zone, with various arms of our church, with the Sunday school, with the missions and evangelism department, with the women's department, with Pastors and Elders Council. I'll be hosting a forum on Friday evening at 9 o'clock with members of the General Board of the Church of God in Christ, Bishop Jerry Macklin, our first assistant presiding bishop, Bishop Cedric Daniels, second assistant presiding bishop, Bishop Brandon Porter, and Bishop J. Drew Sheard. And we'll be talking all things about the importance of this election, because we're pushing in our Kojic Counts initiative. And at 6 o'clock p.m., let me see if I can find the number, because I want to make sure y'all able to get on it. At 6 o'clock p.m. each night, we'll be doing intercessory prayer, praying for wisdom in terms of the voting. Wisdom, praying that God will guide us, praying for the country, praying for the situation here in America, all of that. And it will be led by our international intercessory prayer leader, Mother Frances Kelly, but also by our own right here in Springfield, Massachusetts, Mother Verlene Harris, who is the intercessory prayer leader for our local church and also for our jurisdiction. But she will be partnering with Mother Kelly, leading an international prayer call every night this week at 6:00 p.m. Eastern time. And let me give you that dial-in number. Matter of fact, I think I better put it in the. I think I better put it in there. But it's 650 479 and 3208, and the access code is 126744 1704. All right, that's prayer all week at 6 p.m. I hope I got it in there right. But
so the Bible says that prayer without works is dead. And I also want to shout out Mother. I don't know what's going on. Mother Vernon Harris, because she is a member of WIN also. And she's definitely a mother that's on our team that we greatly admire and we love. And so we will definitely be trying to participate in this as much as we can on this week, the members of WIN. But the Bible says that prayer without works is dead. So I want you to know that we understand that we're supposed to pray, but we're also supposed to work. We're also supposed to do something. We're not supposed to pray and wait for something to land in our lap or for things to turn in a direction that is holy, that is godly. We're supposed to pray to commune with God and get direction from God, get guidance from God, get his approval, and get his learn his way and what he desires for us, to go after. So I just wanted to make sure that that was said and that we're not just praying, and waiting, but we're praying and working.
Yeah, prayer is just the added incentive for power and guidance and wisdom as we continue to work toward making this country a better country, our communities better communities, our families better families, our churches better churches, and all of that. I got to get out your way now, y'all. I got some traveling to do. I'm a little nervous, so y'all pray for me. This is the first time I've traveled beside a road trip with my wife when we went down to Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia. This is all of my travel for the year had pretty much been put off. But I'll be part of a documentary from filmmaker Tariq Nasheed. I'll give you more details about it later on. So I've got to film my part. So in and out. So say a prayer for me. Once again, meet Brother Johnny Muhammad and others at the Mason Square Veterans Park on State Street for a commemoration of the 25th anniversary of the Million Man March today at 5:00 p.m. Parting remarks?
No, I just wanted to say I see a couple of women shouting me out saying good morning, First Lady. So I just want to say good morning. Good morning, Stephanie, and good morning, Sister Angela.
Ain't nobody thinking about your little private fan club on here.
Okay. Well, I just want to say good morning. Good morning to all of you who said good morning to me. I miss Mississippi today. I wish Mississippi had called in. I hope I didn't say something wrong, but Mississippi is good for my self-esteem. So maybe I hear from him next week.
All right, people. It's always a pleasure. Listen, once again, going back, if you haven't subscribed to or followed my page, I've got the same username. It's at Talbert Swan, And don't get confused. You're going to see another blue checked page with my name on it. They blue checked the wrong page, and they're going to have to switch it and reverse it. I've been negotiating with Facebook on their big blunder from a month ago. So hopefully by next Monday, we'll be back in the saddle where we were. Although after 14 days, you lose, or after a month or whatever it is, you lose, all of the things you had on that page. So once again, that was 55,000 plus followers. So we're going to rebuild it. But go to @Talbert Swan, follow that page, and we'll be back in the saddle come next week. All right, I got to get out the way. Get on the road. Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me. Always remember, God loves you. So do I. Peace, blessings, all that good stuff.